So we go from a suit that I'm kind of so-so about to something that I have definitely been enjoying so far. What's going on, everybody? Gustav the 13th here with another video talking about the latest limited suit that you can get during the Winterfest here. It is the Hyaku Shiki Kai mass production type. This lets us back down to 550 in terms of cost, ground space with space preference, and melee priority of 2. Giving a quick gander to the weapons, we have something that's a little bit interesting in the fact that this has Clay Bazooka's twin, but they're incendiary. But they also have like 1000 base power, ammo of 6, range of 350, cooldown time of 5, and a reload of 18 seconds. Definitely a very interesting weapon, especially when we get into the practice. You'll kind of see some of the values, and it's not bad. I'm very surprised at how not bad that is. Hyaku Shiki Kai Beam Saber, 2400 power with a cooldown of 2.5. Very snappy Zeta swings. Does have a bit more of a stamen-like downswing going on with it. If you're used to zippier suits like that, then you'll probably be at home with a stun into this, and I don't know, depending on how you feel about this general setup, you might just hunt for that more than using half of the sub-weapons. But the sub-weapons are actually pretty good. If you are a fan of the laser cannons, I don't know why they call them laser cannons, they're just laser Vulcans, up on the top of the head, although I guess considering how well they stun and stuff, they actually are really good. Power of 225, heat rate of 10%, range of 225, and an overheat of 18 seconds. Definitely a good rate of fire on these. You fire them on the move, all that good stuff. But it also does get, because of course, we're never going to be free of this rifle. The Shiki Kai actually has its own MP beam rifle. One thing to keep in mind, unlike our last sub rifle that we saw in the Gustav Karl, this one only has 3, count them, 3 shots. 2100 power at range of 350, however, pretty decent reach on this thing, as well as a cooldown time of 5.5 and a reload time of 13 seconds. So keep in mind that you got a little bit of a limited amount of shots here, but you know, it's a sub rifle. It could have been 5, but they were just like, no. Moving on, then we have one of the more unique weapons on this kit, the Beam Gatling Gun, looking like something out of a fucking Fallout game, by the way. A power of 160, ammo of 50, range of 400, cooldown time of nothing, and a reload time of 18 seconds. So this is a really weird weapon. You can get a fair amount of stun threshold done up in this thing. It does have an okay rate of fire, although sometimes I kind of wish it was a little bit faster. I don't really know how I'd feel about chewing through the ammo quicker, but here's the thing. This bad boy, despite it being just a smaller thing on your shoulder, for whatever reason makes you take a commit stance to stream out that damage. Which, in general, especially in this game when it comes to even 550, with the kind of high mobility you have going on and the kind of aggressive suits at this cost, putting yourself in a state of stillness is dangerous. We've already talked about this with other suits that do similar things, you know, standard armor, yada yada yada. But in this case, it's not even doubled up. But I actually do kind of enjoy the way the Beam Gatling Gun runs, and even if I can't really show it off that well in practice, I did have a match in this that I did feel pretty good about, so we'll definitely see some of that going on. So, going through these stats here, we have like we said, a 550 suit general. Going down to stats here, we have a health pool of 16k, ballistic resistance is 12, beam resistance is 28, melee resistance is 20, range strength is 35, melee strength is 20. Definitely, obviously, leaning more towards range, considering how much sub-weaponage it has. I'm actually happy about that. Although at least the melee strength isn't left too much behind. It's not in the teens or anything crazy like that. If you really want to hone in on that downswing, considering once we get to the part slots, I feel like that is pretty doable. So that makes me happy. I like it when they're a little bit more balanced. I like when you can either just make them both pretty good together, or just lean one way or the other, depending on what you have. To me, that is the essence of being an actual, like, general suit. But moving on from my ramblings, we have the movement speed of 125, top speed of 205, so not quite as fast as our other counterpart, but it is several costs down. And thruster gauge of 65 and a turning speed of 69, almost getting into 70 at baseline. Not bad at all. Definitely digging that turning speed. Going into the part slots, then we have close range of 13, medium range of 16, and a long range slidage of 11. So because of that, we can kind of lean this one way or the other in terms of defensive builds. You're not really going to be incensed to do more close range output as opposed to long range. You can kind of just put a little bit of each depending on which way you want to go. I would almost argue that considering how decent your beam and melee are, that you might want to put some for ballistic, because even at 550 we are dealing with some things that can chuck out some stuff in terms of that, even though we are moving more towards beams at that cost. Let us then get into the skills here. So leg shock absorber level 2, quick boost level 3, emergency evasion system level 1, flight control program level 2. Oof, thank goodness, being able to do things in the air makes me feel good. High performance balancer level 1, high spec ambek level 2, melee combo controller level 1, force injector level 1, special shoulder buffer level 1, and frontline support system level 1. All in all, pretty good suit in terms of just the general kit and skills. Definitely nothing super out of the ordinary, but in this case, that's actually kind of a good thing. Considering all the different answers that it has in terms of its sub-weapons, having this just like general solid spread definitely just helps it do what it has to do well. So, moving on then to some practice. Oh, I guess we can also just look at it, and I probably should have did this in the last one, but we can look at the enhancement list. Complex expansion slot actually goes to 500 right out of the gate. You can just kind of grab that. The rest is just beam armor, melee armor, and then a little bit more to range. The unlockable ones, which of course this being a 2-star means hopefully you haven't been chucking through your silver stuff, is more anti-beam, as if it needs it, but you know, it is a Shiki. And then a little bit more to range, because again, it is more range oriented, so definitely playing to its strengths well. Nothing super out of the ordinary in terms of the unlockable ones, but you know what, in this case, just more stats is probably for the best. So let's move on over to our practice run here, check this thing out proper, and get some other thoughts in terms of how the weapons behave and whatnot. Alrighty, so let's move on in here. I'm actually gonna have to double check that I put things where they're supposed to be, because I was kind of fidgeting with the thing. Okay, no, we're good. So first, right off the top here, I want to try to get in. This is something that has to do with the bazooka, just because of the nature of the fact that like these things are physically in space, so sometimes you have a hard time hitting. But in there, we're talking about 2k plus on a general, not bad output, and you had that 250 tick for a little while in terms of the extra burn damage. Not bad cooldown for that either. Being able to move in there with the downswing, you do have to be a little bit careful because it is not a 2-stepper. You can very easily just nudge up against people. You really should try to get a decent breath on either side, or maybe just try to maximize the outside swing so that you have a little less chance of getting countered, while also not, you know, kind of overshooting and giving yourselves problems when you try to engage when it comes to stuff like that. Definitely not too bad. The rifle, you know, the usual kind of things going on with this. Not bad output. And this is what we're talking about for the commit stance on this. So, not too bad. The firing rate does make me a little antsy, though, I will be honest, because of the fact that it makes you commit to staying in one spot. But overall, that output is definitely not something to sneeze at. Not to mention, you also have something else that has essentially 2 stuns, and then 2 cumulative stuns that you can work with as well. You're definitely gonna be doing some decent work against any raids in this thing. You should go without saying. In general, this just has a very solid sense of output, because it also has our usual stuff here. You can boost around up in the air, so if you're having a hard time, or if you don't really like where you're gonna land and you just want some extra hang time to try to climb back before you do so, you can readjust yourself and try to get into a more favorable position, maybe while also firing off a shot. So in general, very doable. This is one of those suits where, I think me being so favorable about this but having so little to say about it is just the idea that, like, I'm very boring when it comes to the suits that I actually run on a regular basis. My everyday bangers are very typical, and it's just because I know that I can kind of just rely on what they can do, and the fact that they just have a kit that really gels with me that I don't really have to think about. The less I really have to process the limitations or what the suit can do, the more I can kind of just focus on the fight itself and just do what I have to do in the moment. And those are the kind of suits that always resonate with me, especially nowadays, where I'm either trying to maintain or at least bump a little bit of rating, even if I'm not going to get very far. That being said, just because I think the nature of some of the weapons themselves, this thing does have a little bit of a hard time doing some base busting. It also kind of has some rough reload times, so if you do have an itchy trigger finger, you can very well find yourself in a situation like that where you just burn through everything and you're just going to be sitting without anything. So definitely do be a little bit mindful in terms of how you stagger out yourself. Of course, as with everything that we do here in these practice yards, this is a naked Shiki Kai MP, so there is a very good chance that if you were to bump up some of the range on this, that you would actually see some better numbers in terms of your general output against bases. Maybe even just trying to prop up some better and let this whole thing loose. You can make some progress. It's not going to be as noticeable as even the Gustav Karl was, which was a decent surprise for me. I actually like that was actually a result that we got out of that thing. But what it lacks in immediate base busting potential, it definitely makes up for it in just giving people a hard time. If you're not immediately doing big chunks, as long as you're glancing them with that bazooka set, you can also just get that tick down on them, keep more pressure with either your rifle or your beam cannons. It's so weird that they call them beam cannons as opposed to Vulcans. I'm always inclined to call them Vulcans. And what we get into here after that is mostly just when you feel comfortable trying to run this with the commit stance when it comes to the shoulder cannon itself. Because it kind of has a slower rate of fire and is singular as opposed to having a double shot, kind of like the cannons or something else similar to this, is that it's not really doing what would normally be its run and gun. Anyone who does regular Shiki Kai stuff would kind of be used to that. Just being able to walk up to people with like 2 stuns, give them the hassle. This is something that kind of slows down that flow, but also gives you a chance to kind of just establish yourself in a certain spot. Especially if you know you already have ally fire coming around you to kind of help out. You can kind of just switch to that, add a little bit more pressure while you're waiting for your other stuff to cool down. It's kind of a good thing for situations like that. Or if you just want someone to feel a little bit more panicked or pressured in terms of, you know, either finishing an opponent off or keeping them from necessarily doing anything super crazy while they're also being finished off by other people. This definitely is something that can kind of meld well into either the midline or aggressive run just because of the way that its melee works. Do keep in mind though that it's not the most sturdiest of things. You can build it that way and give it a better chance to kind of take some abuse. Although I think I'm just gonna probably do a general, like maybe some defense, get some mobility in there so I can keep boosting around. The turning speed and everything else on this is actually pretty nice as it is, on top of the fact that it can do some aerial maneuverage as well. In a cost that already is starting to feel the effects of having a fair amount of either transformable or just odder suits running around in it. Having something that can just kind of stop certain suits in their tracks is definitely very nice in terms of just having multiple instant stuns, having something that you can kind of just pursue along in the sky, because you can actually get like 2 stuns worth of stuff out of this. And overall, I felt pretty good in this. I don't know if this would be absolutely positively my everyday banger, but I would definitely feel comfortable bringing this into the rotation for things at 550. 550, in terms of some of my other suit picks, is probably one of the better range of costs for having a lot of everything in the kitchen sink too. So between this and the other Stark, having the Shiki Kai at 600, because you got to keep in mind this is going to buck up against its other cousin at 600 because there is going to be a level 2 version of the limited missions to do. So we're going to have two different variants of this thing running around after a certain point, which is going to be very interesting because I feel like they both kind of do maybe equivalent damage. The sub-weapon bump up to level 2 will be interesting for the rifle, for sure. That being said, I have a feeling that even with the fire dots, you may see more people still just kind of rock the regular Shiki Kai over this thing, depending in terms of what their bigger stat differences are going to be. But I've been enjoying this. 550 for sure, especially since I don't necessarily have the Stark on both accounts and kind of work with other stuff like a level bumped Hazel Custom at this cost for my general pick. This is definitely a welcome addition as well for Ginny. But we'll see what else it can do and how much staying power this is going to have at its cost. I think it's overall a good suit. We'll probably, I think, and in terms of just a general thing, is that we'll definitely still be seeing it well after the Winterfest. But it'll also be interesting to see what else actually comes out at this cost range as well, because we do have a fair amount of other AOZ and other, like, side story suits and things to kind of grind through as well. But enough of that. We will be, honestly, just kind of leaving off with the final fight. So overall, I actually like this suit. Hopefully you enjoyed the fight with this, and until next time, I'll talk to you all in the next one. Right at the end. That sucks. I was hoping my rogue would fucking do more than it did. I just kept getting distracted by units.
Here we go! Commence operation!
But appreciate the contributions. This is gonna be the last round though, so let's see what happens here. Also, apparently this game was very determined for me and PDV to not be on the same team. Oh, we got a Foosh boy over there. God, that's gross. And just a big, like, flash of damage just to lose a bunch in the tick down. Wow, he actually did that. Okay. This damn. I took on him more and I didn't. No. The fire. grab that.
Beacon.
Special delivery. Come on. Get over there. Be fast. I'm sorry, Captain. It's okay. You're so close. You're so far. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Ow. That's so nice. Woo! Oh, good. Need more damage. Need more damage upon these people. Oh, that legitimately didn't stun him. Didn't even graze him. Okay, they got that one. Gotta start splitting though. Is he running? Oh, 6 is trying to get in there. Oh no. Almost got him. He's thirsting for him. I don't think he's gonna get it. Shields are probably saving him a ton right now. Oh my god, fuck off. Didn't even do nothing. You're shooting me more than your team. Oh no, brush. That was me the last match. Just kept fucking catching shit in the ass. So many beeps. Tighten our defenses. I don't know, we're all here. It's literally like 10 seconds left. Yes, yes.
Yeah, we won!
Well, GG all the same. Yeah, of course. Of course that's what happened. Fucking top diversion. Oh. How's that? I didn't even wipe the board. Like, I didn't even have a thing on there.
Here are
It's
the
just the
bonus
average.
rewards.